Captured by Women is brought to you by Yum Vita, a delicious way to grow, and Nido Fortigrow, your love, their future.
Well, it's the first Saturday in September, and we're happy to be with you, and we're sure you are happy to see us on your screens again today. Of course, it's your favorite Saturday show, Captured by Women. And Rosemond is back in the house after such a long break. Yes. Welcome back. We missed you.
Tell I missed you guys too. Glad to be back.
Great. And Petra is also here, and of course, I'm here, and we plan to make your Saturday afternoon the best. Of course, you know how we do it here on Saturdays. We take you through a number of issues that have rocked us this week. We started off with National Cathedral, and the question has been, is it a priority for Ghanaians as at this time, or should we concentrate on other things? Because we seem to want to cite it in a place where we have to relocate a number of institutions, and most Ghanaians don't think this augurs well. But we'll talk about it and find out what our views are, and also certainly we'll take into consideration what your views have been over the past week. Then we'll talk about education, because without education, the nation will be flawed. We'll end up with a generation that does not understand anything or doesn't have an idea how to deal with any matter. And the teachers are threatening to go on strike if government doesn't see to, sort out their market premium and their book allowances, as well as also show them what the 4-year plan for the school of colleges of education in Ghana is supposed to be. So we'll have some personnel in studio to help us understand this issue better. Also, National Teaching Council has introduced the licensing exam, and some people are booting against this. They'll be in studio to explain to us why they are advocating for it, and also to explain to Ghanaians why we shouldn't push it out and actually embrace it, because it may seem to regularize the education system to make sure we push out the best of teachers to train students. And also would have two gentlemen in studio to tell us about spoken word. Most people thought poetry was just stringing a number of words together, but it seems to have changed, where we're singing songs, we're making rhymes, we're telling riddles and asking questions which address important issues. So they'll also come and have a bite on it, tell us a little about spoken word, and also introduce us to their program, which they'll be having tomorrow. So as you see, it plans to be a very interesting program for you. We are proudly sponsored by Yum Vita, a delicious way to grow, Nido, and GTP. Stick and stay with us. We'll be right back after this break.
Thanks for staying with us. So we Ghanaians love to describe ourselves as a religious people. Almost everything we do, we almost either immerse ourselves or try to deodorize everything with religion. The issue about the building of the National Cathedral is raging. It's a hot issue. So on Spin today, we are taking our spin on it and to discuss it and see whether it's timely, whether we should be focused on that as a nation now. So ladies, we know that the furore, is ongoing. But we've received some clarification from Reverend Kusi Boateng that indeed it's government that's only providing the land, and that the committee would solicit for funds or will provide the funds. Shouldn't that settle it?
No,
or
not for me.
Not for
the
me
question
either, but
really from scratch had never been whether government, for me, was not whether government was going to fund it. But eventually, even though government is not funding the cathedral, government is going to still take some monies to resettle these judges who are being moved away, also rebuild the institutions that are being sacked from this particular place. So it's a matter of money, which we've never had. And that's where the big problem is. I believe that, at whatever point in time, some people will say it's not the right time for a cathedral. Kudos. If that's where all Christians want to congregate and have worship, great. But it's where we're going to put it. And also because you take money that we seemingly don't have. So at this point in time, I think we have a misplaced priority. Simple. Yeah. That's it for me.
Yeah, that's just generally it for me. When you started introducing the topic, you mentioned the fact that we deodorize everything with religion in this country. We totally love God, and we know that He has an important part in our lives. But as a nation, I think that we need to be very clear on what is priority now. There are too many things for us to focus on than to now be having a national conversation about whether we want to build a building, we want to have a building or not. I mean, in this country, we start our meetings, our official meetings with prayer. And then we lie at those meetings.
It's true.
We do things that are against the will of God in those meetings. So we need to go beyond just professing to be Christians and being 70% Christian to actually being people of integrity who do the things they're supposed to do. For me, that's the whole point. I mean, it doesn't make any sense for us to build a large, wonderful monument, and we're still going to keep doing. I mean, look at how corruption is so pervasive in our nation. So where are all the Christians? After Sunday church service, what happens to them?
I know.
Maybe the National Cathedral will solve
it. Won't solve anything.
I mean, Petra,
Christ is in our hearts.
You've spoken my mind.
Exactly. So it's just basic. It's not
totally
our priority.
Yeah, and truly, I'm beginning to wonder, was this like a campaign promise that was given in private that we don't know about? Should we just be told that, okay, we really have to do this because this is something we promised? I don't mind if we want to have a national cathedral. It's a very wonderful idea. The timing is terrible. The resources that we want to commit to. I mean, think about it. A few months ago, we were thinking about the Ghana card and as much the quantum of money we're going to commit to this. And I remember tweeting and saying, Ghana, a 61-year-old who doesn't have accommodation for her children. She doesn't have basic health care for her children. Education is in shambles. Yet we're thinking about doing something so nice. We always have then the discussion comes up and says, when is it the good time to do things like this? There's a good time to do things. There's a time to prioritize. But should we be thinking about building a wonderful edifice now? I mean, if private individuals want to do it, it's fine. Yeah. But we have too many problems.
Brick buildings.
And we've got so many church buildings. I mean, every corner of Ghana has a church.
We should use Independence Square. I mean, Greater Works were able to congregate thousands of people. We should use the Independence Square and build something until we can afford it.
Yeah, you spoke my mind totally. I mean, I think that there are more urgent issues that we need to focus on. And you hit the nail right on the head when you talked about the fact that we go to church every day. I mean, if we're actually exemplifying Christ, the nation, I believe,
we won't be where we are now.
Changed, I mean, to some degree by now, but we're still in the same spot where we are, literally. So, bottom line, I think that it's a nice idea. It's a brilliant idea. Yes, funding will come from private individuals and all that, but government will bear some cost in demolition, rehousing, and rebuilding those buildings that will be demolished. So, basically, it's not the best time. Well, the show continues. Please stay with us.
Welcome to Big Bang. There's a very frequent conversation that we tend to have as a national conversation almost every academic year, and that's around the research and book allowance of university lecturers. This year, there's a bit of a different twist to it because believe the first time, CITAG, which is the College of Education Teachers Association of Ghana, is threatening to proceed on a strike if the government doesn't come clean on their book and research allowances and their market premiums. To help us further and better understand what exactly the issue is this time around, we have with us in studio Mr. Prince Obeng Hima, who is the president of CITAG. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon.
So for me, book and research allowance is something that comes up almost every academic year. We hear about university teachers, and there's always the threat of strikes. What is it this time with yours? Especially apart from the research allowance, there's also the issue of the market premiums. Sure. Could you just generally tell us what the challenge is and what your grievances are?
Yes, you will recall that in 2002, President Kufuor commissioned Education Reform Committee that was chaired by Professor Jofos Adamwa-Mensah. And one of the recommendations of that committee was that diploma in basic education should become the minimum requirement for basic school teachers in the country. So therefore, the then training colleges, 38 training colleges, had to upgrade to tertiary status so that we'll be able to produce those teachers with diploma in basic education who will be able to do that. That required that we needed to have an act of parliament to support that. So technically in 2004, we started the process even without the act. And the first batch of students came out in 2007. We had to push, press, agitate, do all kinds of things that I lack the words to express before 2012, during President Mills of blessed memory's time. the Act was passed, Act 847. By the passage of Act 847, Colleges of Education Act, the colleges legally attained tertiary status.
Okay.
That's why when you go into the books of the National Council for Tertiary Education, which is a supervisory body in Ghana here, charged with the responsibility of overseeing the affairs of the tertiary institutions. In their categorization of institutions over there, we have the traditional universities, talk of the Legon, KNUST, UDS, UCC. We have the technical universities, we have the polytechnics, and we have the colleges of education in there. Interestingly, at the end of every month, these people look at us in the face, take us out of the bracket, and give us retention premium, which is given to pre-tertiary teachers in the country, and the rest of them in the bracket, we give them market premium.
Okay.
And we think this is discrimination. So that's why we feel like we need to press home hard for this kind of discrimination to end.
Mr. Obingham, I hear you loud and clear, and I think we, I agree with your sentiments. But also, where the issue would be is what is in the law, in the Act. Because then it would be difficult for any government to be able to enforce what is not there entrenched in the law.
Sure.
Is there a problem where the tertiary ruling council would say that tertiary teachers need to receive a particular amount of the market premium, but say in the act that was passed, it didn't clearly stipulate whether you become a part of the tertiary teachers, even though you have the similar, degrees, similar qualifications? Is that not where the problem may be?
Basically, you realize that in Ghana here, we have Ghana Education Service that is charged with the responsibility of supervising the pre-tertiary institutions. That is the first and second cycle institutions. Before the passage of the Act, we were under Ghana Education Service. And immediately after the passage of the Act, we were lifted and then placed under the directives and the supervision of the National Council for Tertiary Education. That should tell you that we are operating according to the law.
You've been engaging government, as you say, successive governments, over this, the number of issues that you mentioned, beyond the market premiums, the allowances. You talk about governing councils that have not been reconstituted. So in all of these prior engagements with government, give us an update. What has been the outcome? Has there been progress, or has that been, just stalling? Well,
interestingly, that's why in our statement that we issued, we do not want Ghana, it's MPP NDC. You are not very careful. This issue NDC, you look at the MPP people, you are not treating the people fair. Right. They did same to us. That's why we've said past and then present governments have all contributed to our present situation. That, from that time when the Act was passed, they engaged us. I must admit, they made us know that we had legitimacy, and that for that matter we were qualified for that. They were going to engage us in all of these things. The promises did not see day of light, and this government came. I must admit, it shouldn't look like because we have challenged, I don't have to admit to the good things and the promises. The Fair Wages and Salaries Commission in 2 months ago invited us to a meeting after several
but you're still skeptical,
letters.
Aren't you?
Oh yeah, we went. We attended a meeting. In fact, they admitted. The meeting was chaired by Mrs. Eva Addo, a very strong woman who does well to protect government purse, and she tells you if you don't deserve. So if that woman looks at you in the face and tell you you deserve it after going through their books, then that would have been enough. Right. Very principled woman at that. But looking at the fact that we have heard of all these promises before, and they ought to have engaged us in a month's time, the engagement didn't come. But we couldn't have relied on that assurance. That's why we've given ourselves up to October.
Okay.
We are only activating public conversation on this whole thing. So it doesn't become something between ourselves and the stakeholders alone.
But I'm particularly interested. You mentioned the fact that you haven't seen the curricula for the
4-year program.
4-year program. And I'm particularly interested about that because naturally, you guys are key stakeholders when it comes to curriculum development. So is it that you haven't been engaged at all? Because I would be pretty surprised to learn that you have not been engaged at all, but you're saying that
maybe
you haven't
it's the
seen
finalized product you haven't
Yes,
seen.
you haven't received any orientation on it.
We've been part of the discussions.
Yes.
We've been part of the discussions since 2015. We all came around the table and realized that the way our education was going wasn't the best. All of us seated here do not feel very comfortable when we see products come out of JHS. They are unable to display high competencies in reading, writing, and simple arithmetic. And these kids are going to compete globally with children from Nigeria, Britain, elsewhere, in today's global competitive world. So we said, let's redesign our thing. That's why 2015, the Ministry of Education, at that time it was Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa who was in charge of tertiary. They came out with a very beautiful program, Transforming Teacher Education and Learning, to review pre-service teacher education, give it a holistic view. And then all stakeholders were brought on board. I must admit it's one of the reforms that has seen broad consultation and all of that. We admitted, we came on board, we worked. And this government came seeing the good work that was started by the other government, continued with that. So we are for the reforms. The president announced on the, I think some few months ago at the Kropon, the commencement of the 4-year BEd as part of the, which is contained in the 28th September 2017 Cabinet Memorandum on the reforms that came out. And we are going to start this time around.
Prince, sorry. We seem to get the sense that there's a lot going on. There's a lot of engagement going on. But yet I hear from you, you don't trust that the system is going to conclude as you expect. What happens if by October your demands are not met? You're going on strike, and then what?
We are for Ghana, we are for the change. Ghana is for all of us. We don't have one Ghana somewhere for SETAG members and one Ghana somewhere for you guys here and the rest of the people out there. We have that sacrosanct duty to serve Mother Ghana and serve Mother Ghana well. And doing that, the people who are also paid to remunerate people who work also have that moral duty to ensure that they put food on the table for the members of the teachers who also teach. We are not on strike. We don't feel happy when we go on strike.
But you're planning to.
Yeah, we are planning to. We serve
so they're just cautioning the stakeholders.
So we have said that it's a very beautiful program or innovation by the government, ambitious one.
Unfortunately, we have run out of time. So I'm going to just, hopefully we'll be able to come back to this conversation. And anytime it has to do with teachers, I'm sure the whole nation is very excited and wants to know more. But we've run out of time. So we would quickly take a break. When we come back, there are other teacher-related issues that we have to discuss, but unfortunately, we have to wrap up on this. So thank you very much for joining us. And we do hope that October would come and we won't have to go on strike. Thank you for joining us. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. So on Big Bang 2, we're talking about teachers again and the fact that teachers are being asked to go through a licensing exam to be able to go onto the platform and actually teach. Some teachers are of the view that this is in good light. Others don't think they should be a part of this. But the National Teachers Council, who is in charge of this licensing procedure, is here to tell us exactly what goes into the exam and why it's all come about. I have Dennis Osei Owusu. He's the PRO for the National Teachers Council, and Lawrence Sapon, the Acting Director for Professional Operations at NTC. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
So let's start off by explaining to us what even brought about this licensing issue and why some people are kicking strongly against and why you are advocating strongly for it. I'll start with you, Mr. Sapon.
Yes, if you look at education system in general, it has been undergoing through a series of reforms.
Right.
Some years ago, teachers required certificate B to teach. Then around early part of 90s, there was the introduction of Set A.
Okay.
So you go through the 3-year training, but you come out with teacher certificate A. Then somewhere the year 2000, 2001, there was a need for us to move from certificate A to diploma. So the diploma started with the same 3 years, but you have to go through the training and be awarded with a diploma certificate. So this came to be when Act 778 of Education Act 2008 was established. And the Act also recommended that teacher training college should be migrated to College of Education,
right,
diploma awarded institution. However, before the enactment of the Act, Ghana Education Service was having a division called Teacher Education Division, which was working hand in hand with Training College to ensure that deliverables are given to the Training College for the teacher trainees to go through proper training. But with this Act, there was the need for us to have a new body called the National Teaching Council. But because there was some duplication of activities between the National Teaching Council and the Teacher Education Division, there was the need for the two bodies to merge.
Right.
So some division for GES have now been taken out as autonomous body on their own. Okay. While the National Teaching Council, we have National Council for Curriculum and Assessment, and we have National Inspectorate Board. They've all moved from GES to National Teaching as autonomous body on their own.
Right.
Now with the Act 778, the Act also specifies that nobody can be a teacher without license. So the Act says that the teacher license is the only legal authority for a teacher to be in the classroom.
Let me throw this question to you, Dennis, because it's difficult listening to Mr. Sapon. I understand where you're coming from, but as a doctor, I schooled in Legon. I did a certain examination. My contemporaries in KNUST wrote their own exam, but at the end, we all came out as doctors, having gone through what we would assume to be the basic kind of examination or standardized examination every doctor would have to pass before being accepted. So why wouldn't it be the same for the teachers? Why don't you trust that be it KNUST, be UEW, we're all going through a standardized examination?
All right. Thank you very much, my sister. Then after, I want to ask you a question on the doctor.
No, I have the right to ask
I know. I want to understand. Maybe
right, it's different.
I don't have much insight on your medical thing, so I just want to be sure.
Very well.
I don't know, after you went through UDS, Tech, UCC, Legon and everything, afterwards you were just given the opportunity to go to the hospitals and operate, right?
Right.
You didn't go through any licensure examination?
No.
To be given the professional certificate to operate as a doctor?
Once I ended my final MBCHB,
I don't know. I was told there's a lawyer here too, among the...
No, I'm a chartered marketer and she's a communications professional.
Good. So meaning we have even a chartered marketer here who went through the marketing education and everything. By the end of the day, you want to be a professional marketer, you chartered.
Yes.
Good. And so this has been the system. In as much as you go through all the vigorous training in school and everything, if you want to really be in the job market, this is what the law says. If you want to be a teacher, acquire a license to get there.
Yes, but the fact that there's a law does not necessarily mean it's the right thing to do. Because our question to you is, all of these individuals have gone through school to be trained as teachers. Are you questioning the quality of education and certification at those points? No. Or you're saying we have to introduce a better measuring system? Then we should just say that the universities are possibly not training as well as we expect them to.
Far from that. Far from that. I really like this question because it looks as if it's causing a lot of confusion out there. And then even trying to bring some, it's trying to create confusion.
There is confusion out there.
Yeah. I'm talking about that particular question. At least I see, are you trying to say that NTC, you don't believe in the examination of UCC, Winneba whatsoever? No, far from that. There's a difference between the mere academic exam you've gone through in the system and then your license exam, which makes you a professional on that field. This is the profession. Now, let me just use a literal example for you to get it right. A normal mate, a conductor in a bus, has a master, go through all the washing bay thing, push the car, a time comes, he started, he moved, he went to reverse, he did all the training and everything. But after everything that we can send him to the market to go and buy things, go to the mall, buy things. He can drive to even Kumasi. But we say because this is a particular profession and the rule says that as you're entering, acquire this for you to be there. A normal person who has not even, some of them don't even go to the normal formal system, but they have to go sit behind a computer, ask vigorous questions on the job they are entering. And if you are able to do it, you are given a license to that effect. But the first time I got my license, I was like, wow, there's some joy with me. Yeah, because anytime you're driving and you see a police, You may think you are not a professional. But immediately you get a license, it gives you some. And then apart from that, we are in a trend that people should understand. The world is gradually becoming a global village. And the trend on board says that if you want to be globally recognized as a teacher, you need to acquire a license. And then we have a yardstick to that effect. And that is what stipulates our activities as NTC. And for that matter, we have gone through a laid down curriculum, giving it to them on board that this is what we want you to do. And this is actually what we are looking for, to actually professionalize the work in which you are entering.
But the point, so I can see that, I mean, this is quite a passion-driven conversation, as is the protest out there.
Yeah.
You are, the expected impact of this license is that you want to increase quality in the education system. You want to increase professionalism.
Yeah.
But the other conversations or the other issues that go beyond this. The point is that acquiring a license to teach is no guarantee for quality education. I mean, I think one of the is it Nat or Nagrat's presidents made an analogy that people have driving licenses, but we are bedeviled with road crashes, and so having a license doesn't guarantee quality, and that the conversation actually should also be focused on looking beyond the license to look at what are the other indicators of quality that must be in place. Because if a teacher has a license to teach but doesn't have TLMs, teaching and learning material, doesn't have the infrastructure, you have crowded classrooms, how is quality assured? So the measure or the conversation around implementing this licensing must have equal impact on the other indicators of quality.
Yeah.
See,
how is that? Because all that is lost in the conversation.
That is where people are failing to understand what we are doing. See, we are not talking about licensing. We are talking about professionalizing teaching.
Right.
And there are some processes that you have to go through. One of the processes, the licensing we are talking about. After the license, that's not all. We have point-based systems that will ensure that they shall go through series of professional development to renew their licenses from time to time. So as they are writing the license now, they are going to be, the exams, they are going to be given a provisional license. Then they have to go to classrooms for 1 year induction training. With this 1 year, we expect them to exhibit certain competencies, attend certain programs, allow themselves to be mentored by experienced teachers. And we have developed models for all that. After that 1 year, if the person feels that the environment where he or she has been ushered to is a conducive environment for him to practice as a teacher, that person will now request for the full license to practice as a teacher. And having the full license means that you have agreed to also go through the continuous professional development system ascribed to that rank.
Right.
And you go through it for 4 years. There are some series of appraisal systems that we use to appraise you within the 4 years. So we are just putting quality control in place.
Wow,
Very
Mr.
well.
Sapon, so when I finished secondary school, my first job was as a nursery school teacher. And I'm sure there's so many people out there who started off teaching. Are you saying that when we come out of school and we want to render our services to younger people, nursery, primary, we have to go through this process of 1 year provisional license, another 4 year coaching? Is that what the situation is going to be? Because I feel like it's a good thing if you want to weed out incompetent teachers from the system. But is it realistic?
You see, you are talking about two things. Weeding out from the system is different from allowing others to also enter.
Yes.
Now we are at the gate, ensuring that those who are coming of the quality or the needed competence that we want.
Right.
Having tackled that, we also have measures for those in the system.
But do we not need more people to get into the teaching profession?
We need more quality people.
Quality.
You see, we are not looking at quantitative. We are looking at qualitative.
But even when you want quality, I mean, if I was coming out of secondary school now and I didn't have a job, I was waiting to go into university, that 1 year period where everybody tries to find what to do, and you tell me I have to go and do 1 year course.
No.
They don't apply.
The trainees.
We deal with those who have gone through the training.
Yes,
okay.
The teacher training.
Okay.
And then
so they're already stuck. They don't have a choice. They have to do this.
From where you are coming from, that's the problem we have.
Okay.
Now everybody think that,
teaching is just
I can teach. You go there, you give knocks to the children as a way of correcting them when you're not supposed to. One of the purpose is for promotion.
Okay.
Moving from one level to the other. So with academic examination, it's for promotion. Then we have assessment for placement and for selection.
Right.
I think this TV station did not allow you to come in and work because you have the experience. You might have been put to test. They interviewed you.
Right.
And without passing the interview, I don't think they will ask you to. In the same way, we have also put standard in place. And the law is saying that we should recognize one examination. So you can be trained in US, UK, wherever.
But when you come,
When you come in, we want to test your competencies.
Very well.
And that's all.
Anyway, time will not allow us to delve into this matter so deeply, but I'm sure just the scratching the surface has given us some idea into exactly what the National Teaching Council sets out to do with this licensing exam. It's all to make our education system better, to bring up a crop of teachers who are par excellence. And we'd like to say a big thank you to Dennis Osei Owusu. He is the PRO for the National Teaching Council, and also Lawrence Sapon, the Acting Director for Professional Operations at the National Teaching Council. Thank you so much, gentlemen. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more here on Captured by Women.
The prosperity of our motherland is in the hands of everyone. Not just the elderly ones, but also the youth, disabled, and even infants. For it's only united as one that we can sit and carefully plan on how to climb up and pull down the curtain to bring forth the light, illuminating the path leading out of mental slavery. That invisible embargo hindering the development and maturity of most African minds, accompanied by an opportunistic, self-centered, egotistical, two-faced, backstabbing character, crowned with negligence, that lack of accountability to ourselves, talk less of society, consumed by irresponsibility, immorality, vanity, and fruitless anxieties, ignoring our dignity, integrity, yet calling for peace and unity, diligence, prudence. Where are the lessons embedded in our hearts ever since we were students? Where is the freedom and peace brave and diligent men broke their backs, whilst others got stabbed in the back by traps endorsed by us? Oh, Osage for Dr. Kwame Ghana Bankroma, Nelson Madiba Mandela, Emperor Gabriel Selassie. Why has jealousy, envy, and greed blinded our eyes, putting our intelligence to sleep, failing to see our magnificence? For we choose to refuse to accept and embrace what we need: peace. That solemnity everyone needs: peace. That feel of calmness within the breeze: peace. What Mother Africa needs to rise up from her knees: peace.
Wow, wow, wow.
Peace. What Mother Africa needs to rise from her needs. And that was Kojo Bibini, a spoken word artist who has totally inspired us. So with us in studio today, we have Nathaniel Sakite Crab, who is the manager at Krabita Media Consults, and they are organizing a spoken word concert tomorrow Sunday at the Tesano Baptist Church. Nathaniel, thanks for joining us.
Oh, we're happy to have you. We're happy that we're here. Excited.
Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. So Kojo just blew us away. Tell us.
Totally.
I mean, I was listening, and he brought so many factors into his spoken word. He brought in Nkrumah, he brought in Madiba.
Yeah.
At a point, he reminded me of Bob Marley, because when he talks about emancipating yourself from mental slavery, I was like, okay, where is he taking this to? But ended perfectly. What is spoken word generally? What's this movement? Because I know Nana Sase is on the bill. He's one of the very bold, outspoken spoken word artists we know. What are you trying? What's this movement about generally? What are you trying to achieve?
We believe that just like music, and of course music is also poetry, but we believe that just like music, poetry can also be used to address social problems, and that is why we are trying to get minds that are involved in this powerful medium to understand that we can achieve more. Not just recital, love poems recitals, or on very basic issues, so that the issues that concern the women, the issues that concern the girl child, we can use poetry to address it, spoken word to address it, and which is why we're having this event. And we are going to use spoken word to highlight the issues of the girl child and then women, the issue of child rape, child marriage, and then violence against women. And these are very critical issues that we'll be using the likes of Nana Sase, Rhyme, Sonny, Sabuki, Kojo Bibini himself, and a few other notable Ghanaian poets will be on board to highlight these issues. And it is not just spoken word. We are blending music and spoken word. Okay. And this year we are focusing on gospel music and then worship. And then we're going to have the Emmanuel of Stars of the Future fame. And we have a surprise, surprise artist. And so it's either going to be Pastor Isaiah or Kinskid, one of these two.
It's your surprise.
So it's a surprise.
But you've already told us what the
surprise
is what they'll do.
No, it's in which of them is coming on.
Right.
Okay, I'm the surprise, guys. I'm the surprise.
But anyway,
so you could be the surprise.
I'm interested in finding out where the evolution came about, because spoken word for most people may seem like some poetry, but it's not really poetry. It's a couple of words that emanate from a deep part of the person. That's how, like Petra would say, you took us away to different places and brought us back on earth. And I'm wondering where it really started from. Who in Ghana can you pinpoint as having started that kind of passion to talk about things that relate to us, things that are deep-seated that we'll talk about?
The revolution of the movement started way back. Okay. We can talk of pastors, even in our churches. These are men of God that do spoken word. Okay. And of course, it comes from a deeper place. So that this person wants to change minds and change perception, change people's thoughts about certain issues that they've held on to for a very long time. So it started way back. Even it is not something that we can say that, okay, just started and we're having the likes of Nana Sase and Rhyme Sonny and then Kojo Bibini, you know, try to drive it.
Okay.
Yes. So way back from our churches, you can talk of the mocks. So these are people that address the ills of society, issues that relate to you and I. And so spoken word has always been with us. You do spoken word in your own way.
Yes,
and
but
so
this particular twist of
exactly.
genre,
you see,
I mean, I think has risen, I think, over the past five years.
What is unique about what we poets and spoken word artists do is the music that we add to it, so that there's flow, there's rhythm, we rhyme, and so you can tell that we are trying to sing something. And if you paid attention, of course you did, you can tell that Kojo was trying to sing words while addressing the issue of freedom.
Okay, so Kojo is here. We're talking about him in third person. Kojo,
like he's a ghost.
Do you write down your pieces, or this comes from deep within your soul?
I write down my pieces, although it comes deep within my soul. If you don't write it, you'd forget about it.
Okay.
The piece I performed, which is the piece, is I've written it for some time now, for like 3 years. That's 3 years ago. Yes. Poetry for me is language. Poetry for me is sharing my intuitions and my emotions with people around. Poetry for me is trying to change the world, trying to tell the world what to do in my point of view. Growing up for me, I always used to be the person that wants things done right. The only thing that made sense for me, and I analyze a lot, I like asking questions. The only thing that made sense for me was the Word of God. Sharing the Word of God with my friends was boring. We're having fun and you want to talk about this, we're doing this. So I had to make it a little bit more creative and attractive. That's why I add rhymes to my poetry. When you're rhyming, you say 1, 2, 3 words that rhyme in a nice way, you catch the attention of someone. Then you can speak to the person. Then you can put out your message. So like Nathaniel said, we're not just writing love poems or doing secular poetry. I'm using this opportunity to tell people to create the awareness and to bring them to reality, address important issues.
Okay, all right.
So walk us through the program for tomorrow. We know the location, we know the time. Just how is it going to run? And I see a couple of female artists on the bill, of course, because it's focused on women's issues. Who are some of the artists performing in addition to the program? I mean, give us a general
just to chip in,
walkthrough.
how much will it cost? Because I don't think it's free.
Exactly. Before I come to you, let me try and then address that. Okay. The event is being organized by Krabita Media Consult in partnership with Poetry GH. It's a Ghanaian community of over 70 poets. They are a huge community. And of course, for music, we are going to have Nigawu Janji of Nisi Music Incorporated. We are having, I nearly spilled out the beans. We are going to have
a surprise.
A surprise. So let me just move on. And then for spoken word, we have Nana Sase Rhyme Sony, we have Sabuki, we have Stella, and very, 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 talented individuals that will be on board. And we are taking something small. Actually, it is nothing. 20 cities. It comes with free drinks and an ICA examination. And so you're paying 20 cities and you're getting free ICA examination, you're getting free drinks, kebab, and all of those things.
Oh,
so
I think I'll show up for the
giveaway.
It's almost a giveaway.
It's almost a giveaway.
We had a challenge for sponsorship this year. So more like we are running this on people's benevolence and then my little investments. And so I must say thank you to the people at Tesano Baptist Church. They've been very helpful, and yourselves, sorry. And so thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much, Nathaniel. I'm sure I'm keeping these tickets to show up. Nanama, Rosemond, and everybody is going to show up as well. So we're going to expect tickets. But we've been talking to Nathaniel Crab and Kojo Bibini, who gave us a wonderful, wonderful piece. It was Peace. Okay.
Are we going? The time is 4 p.m. to 7 p.m.
And the show is going to be on tomorrow, Sunday, at Tesano Baptist Church. The time is 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. And the event is Spit Bars and Poetry 2018, and you don't want to miss it. It's going to be very exciting. I mean, we've already had a foretaste of how it's going to be like, so please do make time to attend. We would want to, of course, they want to appreciate their sponsors who've made it possible for them. I see a few sponsors here, but you get your sponsor credits tomorrow at the event. So thank you very much, Nathaniel and Kojo Bibini, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us.
We'll take a break. We'll be right back on Captured by Women.
So we've had a very interesting and fun-packed show, haven't we? We hope that you enjoyed every bit of it. In ending the show, let's quickly talk about what we talked about today. We looked at issues in the education sector, specifically the threat by the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana, CTAG, who are threatening to go on strike because of government's unresponsiveness or successive government's unresponsiveness to long-standing issues they've had over the years. In the education sector as well, we look at the policy on teacher licensing and the general responses, largely negative towards the introduction of the licensing exam. And then we also had a performance, a spoken word performance, which actually is happening tomorrow at the Tesano Baptist Church. As you all know, spoken word artistry is beautifully on the rise in Ghana. Tomorrow there's an event that would highlight women's issues and bring them to the fore. And then finally, we talked about the big issue, which is the building of the National Cathedral and the furore that is generating. We discussed it on Spin and had our take on whether the timing is right and whether we should go ahead as a nation. You know, I once read something very powerful that a religious figure said, and I just want to paraphrase it a bit. This figure said that there is no need for us to have temples. There is no need for us to have any complicated philosophy, and that it is our brain and our hearts that are our temples. And the philosophy is simply kindness. So do chew on this over the weekend to see whether you can pick or unpick any truth or truth in there throughout the weekend. Remember, the show is sponsored by Yamvita, A Delicious Way to Grow, Nido, Nutritious Milk for Growing Kids, and GTP, Timeless. Stay blessed, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Been going way out of my way. I ain't doing it no more. Way too much attention to what you say. I ain't doing it no more. 'Cause when they talking, they be talking about that shit that they don't know about. Yeah, I hear but the words go in and out. 'Cause I've been going way out of my way.
Captured by Women is brought to you by Yum Vita, a delicious way to grow, and Nido 40 Grow, your love, their future.